Alright guys, JC Smith here. Well, I'm back on the 5.4 to put in the F150. So here's what I've done so far. I've got all the broken studs out of the motor, which I'd done already. And I took a thread chaser and cleaned out all the holes where the new studs go. Put new studs in, new stainless steel gaskets, new manifolds both sides. Let me show you that. There you go. New exhaust manifolds both sides, new exhaust studs on both sides, and I'm getting ready to put new spark plugs in down the holes. Then I'm going to lift the motor up, and it's a sad day for me because the great all's broke. Makes it a little difficult because my intentions were to hang the motor from the great all and do the work, which, you know, I could use a skid steer. I got the forklift, or I do have a cherry picker, but, you know, I don't know. I just like my old great all. It's convenient, you know, it can reach in here and it could pick it up, and I could have plenty of room, but regardless, we'll make do. So next thing I need to do is get the oil pan off. That oil pan is from the F250 Super Duty, and you can see how the back end of it is cut. Okay, goes around the cross member right here and gives you clearance back here. I don't remember if that's for the front differential or why it's cut like that. I don't remember, but here's the oil pan we need. So how do you get that oil pan off? Get the pickup tube off of it, make sure it's good and clear and clean, put it all back together, and I'm probably gonna hose this out with a little brake parts cleaner in case there's any loose chunks in here I can blow out. I'm gonna do that before we close it all up, and once we do, I'll put it all back together, timing cover, valve covers, all that stuff, and get ready to stuff it in that frame, which I can do all this with my skid steer. So the big dilemma is this is broke down in my way, and you know, I did a video about it breaking down. I mean, these are things that happen. You can't have a machine that's you use this much and is this old that doesn't break. And you know, the reality is this machine hardly ever breaks down. I wonder if I remember what year it was. I think it's some reason I want to say it was a 97, and I don't remember now. It doesn't say anywhere here what year it is, but it doesn't matter. You know, the old girl needs some work here and there. I mean, that's what happens. They're machines. They break, you fix them. Thankfully, that doesn't break too often, so I'm pretty pleased about that. What else? Okay, yeah, so I want to get this motor ready to go. I don't know as if I'll be able to stuff it back in there. I probably can. It's just not nearly as easy, because what I'll have to do is take the skid steer, move that frame out of the way, bring the skid steer in through this way, do the work, and then go back out and stuff it in there, which it's doable. I'm just whining like a little girl, so let me shut my hole and get to work. If you remember from the last video, I was pretty upset about the overall condition of this engine, and I was just going to put it back together and run some cleaner through it for a while, and then go ahead and take it apart and put all its timing parts in it. Well, I just couldn't bring myself to put it together like this, you know? So I thought, well, what better time do we have, or what chance do we have to get as much of that dirt down into the oil pan and out of this motor as we do right now. So now we see what this looks like. See how gummed up and cruddy it is. I'd have to say that is quite a bit better. Step back here. The sun's kind of playing tricks, but you get the point. This is about, what, 5 minutes? 5 minutes and some time and some cleaner. And I got the whole front of the engine cleaned up, All the oil caked crap is gone. Just didn't want to put it together like that. I mean, better view of this. Of course, I don't know how it's showing up because I can't see it, but remember that's what it was like. Just full of crud. Here it is. After a few minutes of cleaning. I know it's not all of it, but it has broke it down to a pretty fluid amount. There's no chunks coming out. It's all down to just basically a liquid. So I'm done with this side as much as I'm going to do. Now, this is all clean now, so it's all dry. So before I put the valve covers on, I'll be sure to pour new oil all over in here, being sure to get oil down into my lash adjusters and on the valves and all that. But hopefully that's going to work. Like I said, we got it all cleaned up. Just a little bit of residue on there won't hurt anything. It's all cleaned up again. So I'm going to do this side next, and then I'm going to lift it higher in the air and get underneath it and clean what I can there. Alright, so this is the passenger side now that it's all cleaned up. So I'd say definitely a huge improvement. That solvent really breaks up all that crud that was in there, turned it into a liquid. It didn't come off in chunks, it came off in a liquid, which is really what I was after. So now we're going to lift it up and get on the bottom side. That'll be next. Well, I'm not sure how this is going to show up, but here's the bottom side before we clean it. I guess it shows up okay. The sun just really playing tricks here. It's just really it's kind of cruddy. So the pickup tubes were different, so I've already changed it out. So if you ever take one out, you have to change the oil pan and the pickup tube, because they are both definitely different from F150 to F250. So, alright, let me get to work here, clean this up. I'll bring you back once it's clean. Alright, how about that, fellers? Well, that looks like rust, but it's not. Just a little bit of oil. I think that's a little better. I think that'll do. Look, I can see the cylinder walls in here. The sides of the block. Look how clean it is now. I'll tell you what, that sure makes this guy happier. Nice clean block. There's a whole lot less to plug up now. Be much easier to get the rest of it cleaned up like this. Focus. Come on. Oh, come on now. Well, I guess that's just as good a look as you're going to get, because the sun's just not going to cooperate. But you just take my word for it. It is a lot better. Much cleaner. It's not perfect, but, you know, it'll do. I didn't even know that was aluminum there because it was all filthy. But, anyways. Okay. I guess the time has come to put the oil pan gasket on and the oil pan. And maybe even a timing cover. Well, I don't know. What do you think of that? That sure looks a lot better, I think. Do you think so, lady? Sure took a lot of solvent. 10 cans of solvent. Oh well. That's a little oil seeping through. That's not gunk. But you know what? I think that is a far cry better than what it was. Gives this motor a little more of a fighting chance, don't it? I think so. But what do I know? See there, the dipstick tube been replaced before. No sense in doing that. Alright, let's get the oil pan on. Okay. That's not silicone, by the way. That's just a little discoloration. The only silicone goes back here where the aluminum rear crankshaft seal plate meets the oil pan, and up here when we do the timing cover, which will be next. But we're gonna have to set this down to do the timing cover a little bit. I got it hanging by this handy dandy engine holder right here. Works pretty well. Very conveniently, they put a couple more. One right here and one right here. Works out pretty good, holds it up good. And we use this high-tech, extremely high-tech cherry picker. Completely adjustable, high enough to get under. Probably not safe, don't do that. I'll have the safety police on me again. Don't get underneath that. Anyways, we're gonna lower this down and put the timing cover on. Put some oil in her. And again, I'm gonna pour oil all over the timing components before I close it up. So let's get at it. Okay, I'm not gonna put this on the way it is. So I guess I need to get to cleaning this one. Gotta be able to get some of that crud out of there. The more we get out, the better. There you go. That'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do. This could have been bad. See what's missing here? Oh yeah. The make it start ring. That is what the crank sensor picks the signal up off of. Basically, it's a DC square wave. On, off, on, off, on, off, all the way around. And then you get one place where it's off or on, whichever way you interpret it, is longer than the other, which tells the ECM that's number one cylinder right there. So I almost forgot that. That would have been bad. I would have to take timing cover off, valve covers and all that to get it in there. But man, am I happy with how clean that looks. Like a shiny new penny. Okay guys, so it's all back together and I think it's ready to go in. Timing cover's on. And here's what I did. You guys, I showed you the video. I was getting ready to put the timing cover on. And I did all that. Then I put the tensioner on, the idler pulley, and then these two idler pulleys. And something worth noting here is if you're going to take a 5.4 out of a Super Duty to put it in F150, those timing covers are different. Okay, you'll see here that it has two idlers, two bosses for the idlers here. My Super Duty did not. Okay, so we needed to change that out. You guys saw us clean that up and got all the inside nice and clean. And then once I did that, I was ready to put the valve covers on. Now, you also saw me clean up each side real good. So before I put the valve covers on, I poured synthetic oil down both sides, being sure that I got it down on each individual cam lobe and lash adjuster and cam follower all the way up through, and then I poured oil on the timing components so it could run down that way and run around the other way. Did that on both sides before I assembled it. New spark plugs, coil packs are back in. As far as I know, unless I've forgotten something, I think I'm ready to go back in the truck. Hooray, happy day. Finally, you know, we can hopefully start making some progress here. The goal today is to have the engine set back in, hooked up, and ready to put the cab back on. Now that the Gradall's back and running again, very thankful for that. So we will get moving. So I'll quit flapping my trap and get to work. Well, I gotta tell you, I don't know if there's a more ridiculous way to set a motor in than this, is there? I'd like to tell you I'm a little embarrassed by this, but the reality is, I'm not. I mean, how much nicer can that get? Hanging level, I can tilt it front and back, I can tilt it this way, and I can go up and down. That's the best cherry picker I ever had. Heaviest too. Alright, so here's what I'm talking about. I can tilt the front of the motor. I can tilt the front end of the motor down. I can tilt the motor left. I can tilt the motor right. I can go up and down. I gotta tell you, man, you setting a motor in by yourself, that might be the cat's meow. Let's set this sucker in there. See if we can get it set in there by ourselves. I'll tell you what, fellas, this is kind of like doing delicate surgery with a hacksaw. Look at that. That would have been a problem right there. There's our steering shaft got to come up in here. Well, alright, let me get a jack underneath this transmission so I can pull my board out. And we'll see if we can't stuff her. Okay. Heart surgery with a hacksaw. Almost complete. I got it in. Transmission's bolted to the motor, torque converter bolts are in, and I'm getting ready to set it down on the motor mounts, and I'm going to dress this thing as absolutely far as possible. I want to get everything on here I can that isn't going to make it difficult to set the cab back on. Okay, so that being said, I'll get the air conditioner in next, because that's kind of a pain in the butt right there. And I'll put the coolant hoses on because they're kind of a pain in the butt, and then I'll get the oil filter on, and hopefully before too long we'll have this thing sitting in here and be looking at ready to set the cab on. It's been a long day coming. I gotta tell you, I really hope this goes well and quick. I'd like to have this truck running here really quick, so let me get at it. Time for a new fuel filter. Very important. See that arrow for the flow? Ooh, that's nice. I don't know there'll ever be a easier time to place that fuel filter than right now, because that, I gotta say, was pretty easy. I gotta put this little handy dandy lock in here. That one's a push to release. You pull the center out. The center little tip right here pulls out, and then you push in on the outside part. So the inside, you pull it out, and the outside you push in. This one, you take this deal off, and you got to use these things, quick disconnects. Cheap, very cheap. Lyle, $8-9, not very much at all. I like Motorcraft when we can get it. Same thing with the oil filter, but I don't think we'll put it on yet. The engine's just about ready. Take these. I got the AC compressor on, the power steering pump's on, motor mount bolts are in and tight, torque converter's done, bell housing's done. Everything's just about ready, except for there's a couple flaws here. One is, I looked at these. This is a pipe that goes down in the intake, underneath the intake. It goes on the back of the water pump in that area. And I thought they were the same, and they're not. So they're very similar. This one has a quick connect. It's a push to connect deal with some O-rings and a nylon backer, which if I would just cut this barb part off, it'll work just fine. But you know, I'd rather just take the intake off and put the correct one on, because it would stink if there was something else different about it, like if the way it was bent came out slightly different or something and I couldn't make it work. I'd be pretty upset. So I think I'm going to take the intake off and change that out. I only got this side of the injectors and coils plugged in, so that's not a big deal. So I think that's where we're headed. Other than that, it's about ready. It's close. That's the best way to say that. It's close. I'll tell you, man. I mean, everything in this F-150 is tight. There's no... I mean, look how close this dipstick tube is for the transmission to the valve cover. So, anyways, that's where I'm at for today. But I'm getting kind of tired. It's been a long day of fixing the great all and putting this in place. And my new truck showed up. I bought another truck the other day, and it showed up, so I had to take a few minutes to, you know, look over the new purchase. So, anyways, we're gonna call it quits on this one, and we'll pick up on another day. Next step, I'll be taking the intake off, change that pipe out, and put the water pump pulley on. I'll probably go ahead and put the serpentine belt on, and I have everything else pretty much handled, so I should be able to set the body on soon. I still need to go pick up new bed bolts. They come in a kit with new clips and bed bolts. 6 bolts, 6 clips. It's not horrible. It's like 50 bucks. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and pick them up. That way it's not gonna be a problem. I know they'll go on well, no issues. Alright, we'll call it quits for today. That's it. We'll pick up later. If you guys like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and leave your comments down below.